welcome to Bus Notes. I'm Vinnie Nardiello. Let me tell you who I am. I'm a teacher. I'm a comedian. Let me tell you who you are. You're someone that didn't do the reading and didn't look at the study guide. And now school is just 5 minutes down the road. But don't worry, we're going to fill in those blanks. It's Bus Notes. Today we're looking at William Shakespeare's Julius Caesar, one of literature's great tragedies. Tragedy is when a hero is brought down from some kind of fatal flaw. For example, staying up all night playing Fortnite with your dumb friends instead of doing the reading. That would be your flaw. However, a new hero rises, okay? It's me, and I'm here to save you. Here are 5 things that you'll need to know to convince your teacher that you read William Shakespeare's Julius Caesar. Number 1, people to know. All right, just to be clear, there are a lot of characters in this play. Some are major, some are minor. I'll just go over 4 that will give you the general gist of what this is about. We have our title character, Julius Caesar. Right, now, he's the title character, but you wouldn't really call him the main character of the play. It centers around his assassination and the power struggle that went on before and went on after, but he's not really the main player of his own play. All right, now Caesar is a military leader, is a political leader who is gaining too much power. People love Caesar. Right? He's a charismatic leader. They're demanding that he become the king, and he always refuses the crown in a very dramatic fashion, and he doesn't do himself any favors in, the way he describes himself. He calls himself in a speech the biggest, brightest star in the galaxy. Now, when you have all these people following you and you think this highly of yourself, it's going to cause people to somehow resent you and fear you and think that maybe the right thing to do is to bring you down. In this case, the person that wants to bring him down is his closest friend, Brutus. Now, Brutus, he loves Rome. They call him the noblest Roman. And he believes that he needs to do what is the greater good for Rome and kill Caesar. The person that gets into his ear about this is Cassius. Now, Cassius does not have Brutus's love of Rome. Cassius wants power. Cassius gets into Brutus's ear and manipulates Brutus into killing Caesar, which gets carried out when Caesar's stabbed 33 times. Okay, it seems a little excessive, but they really want to make sure he was dead. Mark Antony is the one that condemns the conspirators and assumes power in Caesar's place. Now, let's be clear here. Spell it Antony, Antony, not Mark Antony. He condemns the conspirators and starts a big war, all right, where Brutus eventually is killed by his own men. He demands to be killed by his own men, feeling so guilty over what he did to Caesar. Number 2, what is tragedy? All right, we have the definition of tragedy that we use commonly, which just means it's something very, very sad. However, in literature, there's an actual definition of tragedy, which is something sad happens, but it happens because our hero, our protagonist, has some kind of flaw. We mentioned this earlier, the tragic flaw that brings them down. In this case, Brutus has the tragic flaw of loving Rome so much that it blinds himself to the idea of what's right and betrayal and what could be the political fallout afterwards and who's manipulating him, who's using him, all because he loves Rome and is so devoted to his home country. Tragedy is not just something sad. Tragedy is a sad thing that's brought on by somebody's flaw, okay? If I drop ice cream in the literary sense, that's just sad. If I drop ice cream because I'm bouncing it on my head while walking to the car because I've had this long-standing belief for the past 40 years that using hands are for suckers, that's tragedy. Number 3, who is the protagonist? All right, it's Brutus. Brutus really is the protagonist of this. So there's been some people who say it's Caesar. This is usually the first book that is taught to students when learning Shakespeare, because people see it as the most accessible of all his stories. All right, even though there's some complex ideas, and it asks readers and it asks the theater goers to decide, who is the hero, who is the protagonist. One man gets betrayed by his closest friends. He gets stabbed 33 times. Yet at the same time, we're not supposed to actually see him as a protagonist. We're supposed to see the person that carried out those orders as the protagonist. So it's actually very complex with the questions it asks, even though it's kind of considered an entry-level Shakespearean play. Number 4, beware the Ides of March. This is one of the most famous lines in Shakespeare, maybe one of the most famous lines in all of literature. It's come into common use. In this play, it was talking about a soothsayer who tells Caesar, beware the Ides of March. March 15th is the Ides of March. However, it's become in common use. It's just mean beware your own hubris. Beware being overly confident and listen and watch the people around you. Okay, because just when you think you can't be taken down, that's when they betray you. Beware the Ides of March. Number 5, historical background. Now, this play is based on real historical events. Caesar actually was a leader. He actually was assassinated. However, the characterization of Caesar and Brutus, this is largely fictionalized by Shakespeare. Shakespeare is actually writing this more about the historical context of his own time. This was written in 1600, right around the time that Elizabeth I, the Queen of England, was getting older, getting sickly, and she had no children. She never married. They had no idea who the heir was going to be. Shakespeare was warning his fellow countrymen that if we didn't get this sorted out, if we don't figure out who the next heir is going to be, it could be a bloody battle to become the new leader. Bonus, the C-section. All right, the C-section is short for cesarean section. For years, people have said that it was called a cesarean section because Caesar himself was the first one born this way. They're saying now, however, that's probably not true. Caesar's mother lived for another 40 years after his birth, and most women back then, they died right after having a cesarean. So it's probably not true. So if you have a teacher in class, I remember when I was in school, my teacher would always tell us this little fun fact. So if your teacher tells you this, correct them. Just correct your teacher and tell them this isn't true. I'm sure it'll impress them. Well, that's it for BuzzZones. Thanks for tuning in. I'm Vinnie Nardiello. Be sure to follow us on social media, subscribe, leave lots of comments for us. Come on, gang. Let's get that C together.